Yo, 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 welcome to Philosopher's Stoned. Gonna do another discussion episode with my boy Slugworth, Sluggathoriac. You know what I'm saying? That's a new one I just made up.
on the fly.
Yeah. So we're gonna get into one of my passion subjects, I guess. Something I've already covered a little bit on the channel before, the Admiral Byrd story and whatnot. But the reason I wanted Slug to come on here and show us a little bit of his concept of the Hollow Earth. So let's just jump right into it. Start how you want to start this bitch out, fool.
So alright, we got the Hollow Earth theory, and in my experience and in my understanding, we take the Jungian perspective. So we want to analyze, reoccurring themes, archetypes, symbols, the deities associated with these symbols. So as far as the Hollow Earth goes, I feel it's closely related, obviously, to the Underworld, or if you want to call it Hell, whichever, Hades, Chivalva, if you're on the Mayan tip. This all correlates with the subconscious mind. So again, taking the Jungian perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And so pretty much the chthonic deities, like you got your Hades, your Hecate, those types of entities. Those are pretty much the primordial. They're like the original gods in a sense.
Yeah.
Or the elder ones, however you want to love them.
Yeah, the elder gods.
It all correlates.
Even
Yeah.
I guess you could say the Anunnaki with Enki.
Oh, I was just gonna bring up Enki. So, all right. So what Enki's supposed to be Lord of the Earth, right? I think he's labeled Lord of the Earth.
Lord of the Earth,
so
yeah.
I think it's a Zachariah Sitchin breakdown, and he's talking about how it was Enlil and Enki, right? Enlil's given, I guess, ownership of the skies and like space travel and what because Anunnaki came from space.
Mm-hmm.
And Enki's granted ownership of the land, but the land in this case also includes the sea, and as well as everything that's below, obviously, sea level and underground.
And the sea is the Abzu, which is like
the cosmic sea.
The cosmic sea. It's like an abyss of water. It's an entity itself.
Yes, yeah, no, exactly. So yeah, with him being the Lord of the Earth or the Lord of the Underworld, that's right there. That's instantly his correlation to Satan or Lucifer or however you want to look at him in the Western sense. But again, in the Sitchin version, Enki has like the whole reason they built the human race or whatever, alchemized the human race, was to mine gold, right?
Right.
Mining gold. So I even just kind of thought of this right now. The mining for gold, in a sense, could be going into the internal self, or like, you ever heard of like internal alchemy? How you're like supposed to be balancing out yourself. You're not trying to turn shit to gold. You're trying to turn yourself into gold.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So following that mining of the gold, the Enki, you know what I mean? He's trying to get humans to mine gold from. I think that correlates heavily with, again, the internal alchemy, as well as just the whole underworld factor, you know what I'm saying? And then, again, in my perspective, I think Enki is pretty much the first, I guess you could say, detailed account that we have of an alchemist. I think Enki himself...
Splicing the DNA?
Yeah, exactly. This fool's in the lab.
Yeah.
Splicing up DNA, mixed us with... Well, I think in Sitchin's version, they took whatever ape-like being.
Yeah, they said
souped it up and upgraded it.
They were like, we need a species to mine gold, And Enki was like, well, actually, Earth already has a very primitive human type creature that could possibly, with the right genetic evolution or detailed, breaking it down, breaking their DNA down and splicing them together, we can create a pretty intellectual being that will be able to mine gold on our say for us.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I think definitely Enki's maybe one of the first archetypes or versions that we see in history of, well, for one, being an alchemist, two, having quote-unquote ownership of the underworld or just the land itself. This also correlates to, Lord of the Earth. In certain instances, Satan is seen as Lord of the Serfs, which is referencing like medieval times, the feudal system. Serfs are like the field workers; they're all the farmers.
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying? The people who work the earth, their lord, quote unquote, is Lucifer or Satan. So that's again more of the following that archetype of, creating mankind, having quote unquote ownership of the earth, all this stuff, and then as well as the underworld. And then Enki's also, I think Enki is supposed to translate as the dragon in the House of Waters, if I'm not mistaken.
I think I did read that.
So, right? I think that's the translation. That might even be like on Wikipedia or something.
Wow.
But so yeah, we even have the, I guess, the sea or the ocean as another form of, if you want to say, underworld, or it's more akin to the Absu, where everything kind of like swam around and just started colliding and like sprouting from this. I think it's like the sweet waters or whatever.
And we could even connect that to Leviathan being like one of the titans that are trapped in I've seen Tartarus and Tartaria, so I'm not sure which one.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen both translations as well. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess it's tomato. I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't seen any real like distinct correlation of these people called it Tartarius, these people called it Tartarus.
Yeah. That's actually a good point right there. You're talking fallen angels or fallen titans. They're essentially supposed to be the same thing. You have Prometheus, again, another Lucifer figure, stealing the light, bringing it to mankind. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of ways you can interpret that as well. The light. What is the light? The light could be consciousness. Light could be truth. Light could be even fire, and fire's purification. You know what I mean? So again, the underworld, hell, the concept of you're burning, you're engulfed in flames for eternity. I think it's definitely misconstrued in the Western sense. But yeah, the concept of Tartarus is really interesting. If anybody wants to read a really good book, I know it's fucking mirror view for the image here, but it's Tartarus by Johann August Alm. You can get it. I believe this book is through Three Hands Press. You can get it from them. Really good book. The author's a mathematician, and his whole thing is pointing out the misconceptions that a lot of modern philosophers, or even philosophers from like the modern age, as far back as the Renaissance, or even you're talking 1000 AD, 600 AD. And yeah, he's basically just talking about how Pythagoras and his wife figured out the geometric, mathematic equivalencies for the pentagram and why it's like a sacred symbol.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets into the concept of the 5 recesses, or sometimes it's called the 7 recesses. And that's why there's actually the pentagram right here with the 7-pointed star around it, because they're kind of interchangeable.
Damn, that reminds me of some Book of Enoch shit. The 7 sisters.
Okay, yeah. I think it's even the Pleiades. Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
Seven Sisters, seven is a big
Yeah.
recurring number for
Oh,
sure.
they're the yeah. I just
I think
dude,
they even reference the Pleiades and the Seven Sisters in here too, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, it's talking about the five recesses and how basically the concept of hell or Tartarus, which hell is like a condensation of, and it's a misconception. Tartarus is kind of supposed to be, it's our birthplace. So in one sense, Tartarus or this underworld is supposed to be the void. I mean, think about how plants grow. You know, you got to plant the seed in the dirt, in darkness, for it to slowly sprout and grow. And that's essentially, I mean, you could view earthlings, humans as a type of, I mean, I guess plant. I mean, you know, we all sprout from the earth at some point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, it gets into this concept of how even upon death, because most of us bury our dead, we're ultimately returning to Tartarus where we sprouted from. So it's like, it comes full circle.
Yeah,
that's something I found out that's very interesting, and definitely like kind of a bit of a paradox. Tomb is the womb type of scenario. You know what I mean?
So when I was going through the Book of Enoch study that I've been doing lately, they cast I guess he's an angel, Azazel. They cast him.
Yeah, familiar.
They cast him to Tartarus, I'm guessing, to burn for eternity for teaching man how to create weapons and defend themselves and fight amongst themselves. That's one of the reasons pre-deluge that God was like, oh, Azazel's got to get it. Azazel has to answer for his fucking actions on teaching these humans how to fucking fight, basically. So that's funny that there's even book of, like, going back to the inner earth being hell. That's kind of a hint right there that there could, there's so many mythologies that have a underworld. Like I think almost every mythology has an underworld.
I think for the most part, as far as I know, yeah.
Yeah, every theology, every mythology has an underworld of different names, obviously, and all the same idea of it's not godlike beings, but divine deities that are stuck down there for some reason. And a writer, Tracy Twyman, who I followed a bunch before she died, I've read all her books, and she talks about this a lot, about the Masonic tracing boards and how they kind of show it's the three pillars, I think. So there's Joaquin and Boaz are two of the pillars, and they're named from the two pillars of King Solomon. Now I know King Solomon, I feel like, is an allegorical figure. He didn't exist. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of that going on when I started to study more biblical shit, and like there's the theory that Noah was never a person, but I don't really believe that, because I think the real Noah was Utnapishtim from
Sumerian culture,
from the Sumerians, because he did the exact same thing when Enlil and Anu wanted to wipe us out, and Enki was like, hold up, I'm gonna give the key elements to Utnapishtim before this giant cataclysm comes and wipes everybody out. So what do you think about the whole Shambhala / Agartha thing? Because Shambhala comes from Tibet, culture, is that just there? Because it's not necessarily a bad place. How Christians view hell as a place of suffering. From my understanding, Shambhala is a mystical kingdom that you need high ascension levels to reach, like how Thoth talks about in the Emerald Tablets. Those are we're humans are destined for more. Enlightenment wise, we should be clairvoyant, we should be telepathic. Like, these are things that we should be 5-dimensional at some point. Like, our souls and energy should be able to reach that through gnosis of some kind. So I feel like that the Shambhala side of the Hollow Earth, it's more on the positive side, as in you gotta
it's
get.
not like you're not gonna suffer.
You gotta get that. You gotta kind of earn it, and and instead of it be a punishment, it's a reward to go to Shambhala or be access to Shambhala. And I think Agartha, I don't think it came from the Nazis, but I know that's what they talked about in the Real Society stuff, like the Coming Race book by Bulwer Lytton, where they had the medium that was talking to the aliens that were inside the Earth, that were telling them, hey, there's the Aryan, I guess, aliens that are high advanced technology are going to resurface one day, and they want the rest of the world to look like them. So Hitler, do your job and fucking make everybody fucking white. So I wonder if that, if that is true in any way, if any of that is true, that happened, that Hitler was in contact with inner Earth aliens, he failed them miserably. So they probably, if they're still there, they're like, fuck, we gotta figure out a different fucking strategy to come up on board, because I mean, they might have just fucking de-evolutionized to regular looking humans, and now Agarthians are walking among us.
That's definitely a possibility.
It could have been Edgar Winter.
Didn't you write fucking Frankenstein?
I think so.
That's fucking funny. But yeah, as far as Agartha, Shambhala, I got this book right here. It's called The Return of the Serpents of Wisdom by Mark Amaru Pinkham. And it's this book trying to, I'm pretty sure this guy's ultimate goal is to quote unquote unite all religions of the world. So in his eyes, there's like a grand scheme of things which each culture of the world has just like a piece of, maybe a puzzle piece, maybe two, maybe they have a quadrant, but everybody's got a piece, so he's trying to put that all together. And through this book, obviously, he's trying to correlate all the different cultures who saw the serpent not in the current sense how Abrahamic religion has put it, as in, the serpent in the garden's evil, or there's even the whole thing about reptilians being like archons and stuff, which I'm not saying isn't real, but there's definitely a positive side to the like serpent sage, or you got the Nagas, or that's it's in all aspects of ancient culture.
That kind of brings back some other biblical shit. How Cain, the Cainite, the mark of Cain, that the serpent really isn't evil. It's more of maybe the ones who wrote the text had to, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how to say it. It's like, because I'm into the study of like the real Adam and Eve and what really happened to the garden afterwards, and who the real snake was. Now, a lot of Gnostic stuff has the snake being Lilith and Samael or something like that, and I don't know. That's just kind of. I wanted to mention that because that's kind of weird. And I noticed.
No, yeah, I'm definitely familiar with the Canaanite, the whole, I guess, Samael, who's basically supposed to be Lucifer, fucking Eve, and then Adam fucking Lilith, and then Adam fucking Eve, and then Lilith and Samael fucking, yeah, so I haven't read it myself, but talking with other people, if you heard of the text, the Zohar.
Yeah, I have it.
In the Zohar.
I have it.
You have, okay, I guess somewhere in there it mentions that, okay, Adam and Eve are a thing, Lilith's been cast out, Samael's kind of been, I guess, cast out as well, and okay, so, I guess kind of a little bit more on the Canaanite mythos, or, yeah, because I don't even know if Gnosticism, the Canaanite Gnostics are on this wave, but the idea is that, okay, the serpent in Eden is Lucifer. By enticing Lilith to taste the fruit, at some point in there, they fuck. And I don't know if it's necessarily they really fucked, but the whole thing is supposed to be that Eve gives birth to Cain, and Cain is carrying Lucifer's genes. And then you have, after that's happened, Cain's been born, and then finally Adam and Eve conceive. And that's supposed to be Abel.
Yeah.
So the whole thing of Cain killing Abel is Cain is killing off the mundane, like, self. And Cain's got, like, kind of the more elite bloodline because he's fucking from Lucifer, you know what I mean? He's a divine being. And yeah, that, I guess, bloodline is supposed to be continued on down till today. The author of this book that I just mentioned, The Return of the Serpents of Wisdom, Mark Amaro Pinkham, is actually a member of a religion or a religious group, the Yazidi. And the Yazidi believe there are people who originate from, I believe it's Iran, if not Iraq. One of the two. I could still even be wrong. But they basically believe that they're the direct descendants of, I guess, Adam, or the beings of the Garden of Eden. Like, they're supposed to have been traced in their bloodline. But yeah, that's their belief. And since we brought up Azazel as well earlier, their belief is that, well, they've been persecuted by ISIS, the Islamic group.
Oh, really?
Yazidis are labeled like Satan worshippers because they actually, like, acknowledge Lucifer, but in a more of he's fallen from heaven to come and be here amongst earth people and then be reestablished and make it back up to heaven where he is Melech Taus. And Melech Taus is the peacock angel. So they see Lucifer's fall and rise back to heaven as like a heroic triumph. And that's, they've been targeted for, I mean, even in recent years for, quote-unquote, being Satan worshippers, because that's legitimately how they read, like, the Garden of Eden story, and I guess they kind of even see themselves as descendants of Lucifer, if that makes sense. I mean,
yeah,
we kind of all would be if Lucifer fucked Eve and conceived the first, like, human child, you know what I mean?
Damn, I wish, God, fuck, I just want to know the truth sometimes.
I feel that. I'm
You know
still fucking searching.
Yeah.
We're getting closer, though.
I just want to mention this about Cain. I have read something somewhere, so the Inca, how they are, if you switch those letters around, that's Cain. So there's, so I've seen some stuff about how at some point Cain was going around maybe as another deity that we're also familiar with, maybe Enki. Maybe Enki, maybe because I think if you throw around Enki too, you can get Cain out of that as well. Maybe that was part of. Maybe Cain and Enki are somehow the same incarnation. At some, I'd have to find some, not necessarily proof, but some better solid connections. But that would kind of
let me
make
throw some more connections out here. So, all right, with Cain, he was obviously cast from. I'm pretty sure he was cast from Eden, and he was told you have to wander to the land of Nod, which is like apparently it's east of Eden.
Yep.
So in that process of basically his journey to Eden or to Nod, he's essentially wandering. So, like how you just said, maybe Cain was wandering around. Maybe he made it all the way to the Americas. Maybe he probably went to. I mean, even if you look at the supposed story of Jesus, he's supposed to have made his way around the world, kind of visiting each culture. Because I mean, I feel like the Christ figure and Buddha are definitely pretty closely related.
Oh yeah.
As far as the the levels of ascension and how important meditation is, all that stuff. But yeah, Cain is the wanderer, and I know specifically, I believe it's Nod. The journey from Eden to Nod is supposed to be a desert. So he's cast into the desert and just wandering aimlessly. And one thing that's also associated with desert travel is witnessing mirages, the illusion that something's there, but it's not really there. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of different ways that you could approach the whole Cain being exiled and forced to journey to Nod, and that even ties into you want to say Set. I mean, also Set butchered up Osiris, his brother. You know what I mean? That's pretty. That sounds like Cain right there as well. And
didn't he put his body parts a bunch of different places?
Yeah. I was actually just reading about that not too long ago when Set disposed of Osiris's bodily parts. He had just dumped them into the Nile, apparently. And if you know or are more familiar with other Egyptian gods, there's the alligator crocodile deity Sobek. So when Set disposed of the body in the river, Sobek, some depictions are him unknowingly eating Osiris's remains, but some of the other narratives also say that he consciously ate Osiris's remains. Either way you want to put it, because obviously the crocodile's an animal, it's your animalistic urge to feed. But yeah, there's even stories about, I guess, Sobek kind of being in place of Osiris, or it's Sobek Ra or Sobek Horus instead of Osiris. You know what I mean? The combination and ascension of all. So yeah, there's definitely some I guess absorption of the whole dismembering of the body, and then it's in the river, and then Isis goes and finds it. Doesn't she cut down a tree, I think, because his body's been growing or something inside of it?
Something about her. I think she makes a fucking weird gold dildo to fuck herself with.
Low key, yeah. She probably fucking put the old pencil down his dick and just wrote it. I don't know.
Those Egyptians were fucking so weird.
Yeah, Egyptians were definitely on some other shit. But yeah, I mean, even Sobek is I'm not so sure he's a primordial deity in the Egyptian pantheon, but he's definitely an older god. Sobek's been a I guess a figure, or even just crocodile gods in the Aztec creation myth. I'm probably gonna butcher the pronunciation, but Sitipatli is this like giant like sea monster, and it's just kind of swimming around. It's kind of described as like part crocodile, part fish, part reptile. You know, it's got all these different kind of things, and it's just this giant sea monster. And Quetzalcoatl and Tezcatlipoca basically like lure this sea monster in the Athena, and Tezcatlipoca loses a foot in trying to lure this sea monster in. So whenever you see a depiction of Tezcatlipoca, he's either got a snake for a foot or a mirror. But yeah, even Mother Earth is kind of supposed to be, if not, I mean, I think technically alligators are reptiles.
Yeah, for sure. I
might be mistaken.
No, you're right. They are. Yeah.
So yeah, even the concept of Mother Earth being like, because in the acid creation they build the Earth on this sea monster's back. So you have this flat plane, and then eventually it'll just like curl into a ball, and then the rest of the Earth is on the back, and then tie back into Hollow Earth theory. What's on that interior? You know what I mean? This could be anything. But yeah, it's definitely something else when you start to get into, again, the mythologies and tying all of these, I guess not tying them in, but identifying all these overlapping consistencies, and you know what I mean? Just seeing how everything ties together, because there's an origin to like, we all, you know, it's a Tower of Babel. We all were like one civilization at one point.
And then all of a sudden couldn't communicate.
Yeah, we fucking started fracturing off and speaking different languages, and that's why even, again, we have all these different gods who are kind of the same representation. Everybody's just got a different name from because they speak a different language. You know?
Yeah, that's what
like they're actually separate entities. They're one entity just being viewed from different angles, having different experiences, etc., etc.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up. So, a little bit, I've already kind of mentioned this already. So we have the Greeks who have their Tartarus, where that's where all the Titans are, waiting to be released one day. One day. I don't know if they have like a time period of how long they're supposed to be imprisoned down there. I'm not sure, but I know in the book of Enoch that all the fallen angels that are sent to hell, they have to suffer for 70,000 or for 70 generations. And I read this thing where this guy did like 70 years per generation, and I think the year that they're supposed to, the fallen angels are supposed to come out of hell, it's like 4,900 or something, 4,920 or some shit like that. So we're not gonna fucking see it. If that's
still got another 2,000 years.
Yeah, I'm like, God damn it, fuck! I really thought this was the end times. God damn.
Yeah, that's especially if you want to get back into like Tartarus and the fallen titans being sentenced to just having to reside there for so many years, however long. Back to Azazel, and I guess, who is the other one? Who's the guy who Atlas? He has to balance the earth on his back.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so there's supposed to be a correlation between these concepts of like fallen beings, fallen titans, beings of the underworld, chthonic beings, you know what I mean? They're kind of all essentially supposed to be not only representations of... Okay, hold on, let me take it from a different route. You have elder gods, like primordial beings. Now, let's say, we have Atlantis. Let's just say Atlantis had an entirely different system of worship and pantheons and da-da-da-da-da. And, like, Atlantis ain't even the only civilization at this time. There's a gang of other tribes, just like there is right now. You know what I mean? So they had this entire magical system, all these gods laid out. But now, in the incarnation that we have now, that's since the flood, essentially, we've kind of had to rebuild that system, but we've done it in our own way again. So everything that we know now is just like the first layer of remembrance. You know what I mean? So the whole thing with like the underworld, chthonic deities being more primordial and more ancient, or supposed to be basically part of our ancestral memory. So it's just the reoccurring cycle. Like Atlantis was here, reached a peak, and then drowned. So we reached the fucking bottom point. Earth had to be rebuilt again. Civilizations had to expand, and then bang, we see all these sprouting of civilizations again. Different people having different experiences with interdimensional beings, primordial entities, beings of the subconsciousness, because that's really what everything ties back into. Is the subconscious. The subconscious is what's producing this image that you're witnessing with your fucking two eyes. Hopefully, if you have two eyes, some people have one eye. Cyclops up there. But yeah, it's tying back into the subconscious, and again, from a Jungian standpoint, symbols, archetypes, they bleed through everything. There's no medium that they can't penetrate. When I've actually just been talking more about the concept of emanations with this Sufic group that I'm involved with. But yeah, the concept of, okay, let's just take, you want to take Thoth, Anubis, Set, Osiris. They're these main gods, but they've been around. They're, even in the Egyptians' eyes, they're primordial. You know what I mean? They're old.
Yeah, they're...
The Egyptians, they're
what
old.
Do they call them? The Ennead?
Yeah, actually, yeah, the Ennead. That's, again, that ties into what we were talking in the Sufic chat, is these 9 beings.
The Council of 9.
Yeah, the Council of 9. They're essentially the oldest pattern or archetypes that we have, like in all of existence, physical creation, in this time cycle, Earth, all these beings. They're just populating the spaces that are available because, well, this is according to, again, the Sufic way of thinking. Gravity kind of destroys consciousness, if that makes sense. So because we're here in this gravitational pull, we're kind of latched onto the Earth, there's a certain effect that it has on our magnetic presence in this electrical universe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
So what consciousness is this, it's like a magnetic fluid, is how it's been described to me. So yeah, you have these 9 primordial beings, the blueprints, and then you have all these different layers of physical existence, and like we're kind of probably in the more lower ones, obviously, because this is a pretty physical, like it's really dense universe that we're in. But yeah, these 9 beings had to, in an attempt, well, they successfully did it, but in an attempt to preserve their attention or their consciousness, they had to populate slowly but surely the higher realms and descend down back to where we are, and then obviously even lower, because there are realms lower than ours.
So we mentioned the Egyptian Ennead, their Council of 9. I have some notes here on the Indian origin of the Council of 9. I'm going to go ahead and read this off. So there's alleged statements that they are the oldest secret society or keepers of knowledge. That's just the Council of 9 itself. And like how we said, there's the Council of 9 for Egyptians, there's other ones, but the Indian origin that I have found is from Ashoka the Great, who was an Indian empire from 304 BCE to 232 BCE, and the grandson of Chandragupta Maurya, the founder and first known emperor of India. Ashoka wanted to follow through with his grandfather's dream of unification across the continent, so following an insane giant battle with Kalinga, also known as modern-day Orissa, Akasha realized the loss and impact of human life in warfare. He watched 100,000 Kalinga men, women, and children, plus 10,000 of his own people die all in his name, basically. So he vowed to take a path of nonviolence and began practicing Buddhism. Following this, Akasha the Great decided he would vow to place specific knowledge in the hands and minds of 9 men who would protect the secret knowledge and also distribute pieces of the knowledge along the course of human history as it was needed. Kind of like the Egyptian priesthoods that we hear about that have been sprinkling certain disclosure of enlightenment, over time when we're ready for them, I guess, or when we're in need of them. I'm guessing more along the lines of they need this type of awakening right now. So the Akasha version of the 9 describes that there were 9 secret knowledge books, and each would be placed and trusted with a member of the Council of 9. The reason for the close grip of the distribution of this knowledge was the simple fact that the information was too powerful for the human psyche, but as time progressed and humans evolved, the knowledge would be taught for the sake and progress of the human race. And the 9 books contain the following. There's one on psychology, sociology, physiology, microbiology, biotechnology, alchemy, communication on all levels. I'm guessing telepathy, if there's another type of communication, I wouldn't know. Cosmology of the universe, and the mastery of gravity and light. So basically, the 9 books of the Council of 9 from the Indian mythos is that these books would teach us that level of ascension that deified the early Egyptian gods, I guess, that made them I guess
elevate.
It had the regular folk worshiping them as gods, So yeah, it also says here that the release of the information is slowly intravenously inserted into the species over time, giving that species what they need or what is required for them to the godlike enlightenment so they can eventually leave this planet and ascend into the higher dimensions. I thought that was interesting.
That sounds very on brand. How you mentioned the, I guess, sages or the 9 giving us information when we need it, when we're ready for it. Pretty sure there's a theory out there. I think it's called, Plateau. What's it called? I think it's called Plateau Evolution or Plateau Progression or something. But it's basically this trend that historians have noted through history. And it basically was, certain cultures would be at a certain level of existence, right? And they're kind of in a flat plane. They're in a plateau level.
They're stuck.
And then they have an experience, and they advance technologically or spiritually
really fast.
But then they hit another plateau.
Yeah. I've read that too. I don't know if it was the same thing, but it was kind of like we're stuck at a certain level of technology and intelligence and intellectuality, and then all of a sudden something happens and it shoots up. Fucking within 10 years, everybody's got a fucking cell phone. You know what I'm saying? All of a sudden we're ready for it. They give it to us somehow. And a lot of people that hate people like us will be like, well, it's just some guy in Silicon Valley that invented a new tiny cell phone. I mean, he had to get I think that idea might have been planted in him somewhere, somehow.
I'm pretty sure Steve Jobs was like heavy into meditation, and I'm pretty sure he credits meditation experiences as giving him the influence to create shit like the fucking iPhone or I don't know, the fucking iPod, shit like that.
Yeah, I'm not saying he got channeled and then automatically wrote the fucking blueprint for the iPhone, but during meditation somewhere he reached a center that gave him that idea. But yeah, man, this was fucking dope. We're we're about 45 minutes in, so I'd love to fucking chop it up more with you about some certain shit. We can even revisit some topics and focus more on those and narrow down. And we did this on the fly, you know what I'm saying? So fucking I'm super down to get back with you on some shit. And one more time, we got to shout out to Naga, the teacher.
Hey, big shouts out to Naga. Fucking Emerald Scar Circle shit. You know
Yeah.
I don't know where I'd be without Naga.
Straight up, the fuck up.
Man just got so much knowledge, such a good fucking influence, so much guidance. You know what I mean? That's what you need. You don't need a teacher. You need some guidance. That's all it is.
Yeah, exactly. Every time I talk to that fool, I'm just like, the whole time he's talking, I'm just like, oh shit, damn, fuck.
That's a conversation one not good, bro.
But yeah, all right, dog. Well, shit, I appreciate you coming on, man.
Of course, appreciate you having me, bro.
All right, dog. I'll see ya.
We will see you next time.
Yeah.